you've got it up to 2024, 25. Do you think it will be extended any farther?
Yes, in the sense that the funding, there's three large pots of money, I'll call it. One coming this year, one coming next year, and then another pot coming the year after that. That will be ongoing funding going past 2025. It will go, I won't say indefinitely into the future, but it is a commitment by the government to fund long-term care in a way that we're able to provide an enhanced service to our residents. We're able to meet the new requirements under the Long-Term Care Act, and to recognize that long-term care has struggled over the past 15, 20 years to meet the growing demand for the services that we are being asked to provide. So I think this is an acknowledgement of that. And yes, it certainly is intended to go beyond 2025.
So just one more. So the issue is, that all long-term care are going to be receiving additional funding. And right now it's very hard to find more people, What's your opinion? I know there've been some incentives by the ministry to, look at, perhaps, increasing no tuition for people taking PSW programs. But like, how do you think, now I know Valleyview is very competitive with their wage, which is great to be able to attract people, which, on one hand seems like a cost, but really, and it's a good incentive to try to attract people to Valleyview. So I just wonder what your opinion is how difficult will it be to fill these additional roles?
Thank you for the question. I think, as you indicated, based on the reputation that Valleyview has in the community, and it's a competitive wage rate, I do see us being able to fill the positions. I won't say with ease, but I think when we start the recruitment process in earnest, we certainly will be able to meet the mandate, certainly in this first year.
And just one more thing, I just wanted to say that, the city is Valleyview is very well run. And we're really fortunate to have such a good reputation and offer such care, because for these instances, we will be able to attract new people. So, just kudos to everyone who does such a great job there.
Thank you.
Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Thank you. First, a comment that Valleyview is a place residents call home. And that extra help, I'm sure, is going to be perceived as very grateful to a lot of the staff and the residents at the home. I know that you had previously chatted that 27 months we've been living in an extreme COVID situation, but yet the level of excellence and care at Valleyview has never waned. And I receive feedback from the residents who have family, loved ones in Valleyview, and they are extremely grateful for the care that they do receive. So from your opinion as administrator, how is the morale and for the staff and the residents at Valleyview currently?
Again, through you to the councillor, I think that the morale at Valleyview, I think two words I guess I would use to start my little discussion. I think the residents and staff, one word would be resilience. I think there's a resilience built into them that they have come through, as you said, 27 months of this pandemic. And I think they're proud of what they have accomplished at Valleyview, as they should be proud of what they've accomplished at Valleyview. They're a loyal, dedicated group of employees who certainly love the residents that they serve and are proud of the work that they do. But I think the second word I would use is tired. I think people are tired. I think they have worked hard these past 27 months. And I think, excuse me, what you are doing tonight, if you approve the recommendations in this report, will go a long way to certainly aiding them with morale, certainly, but also helping them realize that help is underway. These additional staff members, and there's more to come, as I indicated in my report, will certainly go a long way in helping them understand that, yes, we've been through a lot, but the government, the people, the council are coming to help us. They're supporting us by bringing in these additional resources to aid us. And I think the residents also, from that perspective, will also realize, and the families, when this gets developed and comes forward, that this additional care that we're providing to our residents certainly will help them and allow them to have a greater quality of life, and will allow staff to truly engage in person-centered care with them. We're trying to move away from a delivery system type of care, I'll use that word for lack of a better term, to certainly a truly person-centered care where staff can spend more time with the residents and certainly engage them in a kind of a holistic approach to care. And I think these additional staff members will certainly help do that.
Go ahead, Councillor Baldwin-Sands.
Well, for me, I will be fully supporting this. And if you could take back, at least from me, my thanks to the staff and to the residents for everything that they have represented in this community and the work that they do.
Well, thank you. I will indeed.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Carroll, we've missed you. We don't get to see you like we used to, and we know what you've been through in the last 27 months. And I want to echo what Councillor Baldwin-Sands has said. You held up the fort, and the staff with you held up the fort extremely well. The residents are very pleased to be where they're living and what we're able to get through this pandemic. Should you please take this council's thanks and praise back to your staff there and share it 100 times over, if you could, please. Thank you for your efforts during that time, but certainly share it with all there too.
I will certainly do that indeed. And I'm glad to be back too. I hope this is the beginning of something, not beginning of something new, but the continuation of something wonderful.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Next item, Your Worship, relates to corporate policy HR 0344, disconnecting from work. I have a motion that report HR 0322 relating to corporate policy HR 0344, disconnecting from work, be received for information, and for the council approve corporate policy HR 0344, disconnecting from work, as attached to report HR 0322. Moved by Councillor Reimel, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Councillor Peters.
Thanks, Your Worship. Very supportive of this, but I think it should be noted that council is exempt from this.
Are you filing a grievance? No, I'm just kidding. Further questions or comments? Councillor Herbert, sorry.
Thank you, Worship. Well, I'm reading through this and somehow it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me that they want this to be in place. So what I'm looking at, if I'm working here at City Hall and my wife calls me and says, my son is sick, you need to come home. Does that fall under this? Does that fall under this policy? I'm not sure who's going to answer that, but.
Well, I'm going to ask Ms. Schultz.
It's so specific. I'm just curious. I got a couple other questions too, so go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you for the question. Actually, it relates specifically to work-related communications. So a phone call coming in from your wife would not be considered work-related.
Okay.
The legislation is very, very specific as to what electronic communications actually means.
So second question, Your Worship, to Sandra, how will it be enforced? That's my question. Second question. How can you enforce it? You have to look at someone's computer, say, oh, you got 5 emails you shouldn't have. Is that what's going to happen?
Well, thank you for the question, because it is a really good question. It is not specifically enforceable. So it is the employee's right to disconnect. We have a number of exemptions that are built into the policy. And at this point, it's a starting point for us. Once we actually implement the policy and it starts to roll out through the fall, we expect that we may need to look at some of the details in greater detail.
So my third question, Your Worship. So an employee is working at home. How do you monitor that when they're working at home? Like they're doing their stuff at home. You have no idea what they're doing unless they're on site.
Well, at this point, we do not have any employees working from home. So all city staff have returned to their regular work site as of the end of February.
Okay. Are there warnings to people? Like you warn someone, hey, for sure, you're not following the policy that we're passing? Like, do you give them a warning?
At this point, there would not be any type of progressive discipline. So it's the employee's choice whether they respond to work-related communications. Where the policy applies is that there cannot be an expectation from a manager or supervisor that an employee will respond during their non-work hours.
To me, you're telling the employee that they're not doing their job, that you got to eliminate some of these things from doing. Anyway, that's fine. I just, it's not my favorite thing when I read it. So anyway, thank you. Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Councillor Kohler.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe Sandra can just explain the policy, because I think there's a misunderstanding with it, because this is to benefit the employee, not to reprise them for anything. It's so they have the ability to cut it off, but maybe Sandra can explain it.
That's a really good question, and you're absolutely right. It is a benefit to the employee. So it's specific to disconnecting from work related to not engaging in any work-related communications. So it's defined as emails, telephone calls, video calls, sending or reviewing of other messages. So they're free from the performance of work outside of their regular work hours.
If I can ask, Sandra, but it also means there will be people on call. Some of our systems are 24 hours a day. And so you're not exempt from doing work that you're supposed to do if you're on call. It's just you're not having to answer emails and such during non-work time, if indeed it's your non-work time. Okay, that makes sense. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in. That's carried.
Your worship, unless there are any further items from the members for corporate governance and administration,
Seeing none.
council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council and committee of the whole, as recorded in the minutes of this date, be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Burgess, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Your worship will now move into reports of committees. The first report of the Municipal Heritage Committee relates to a retail sign. The remainder relate to murals. I have a motion for the first report, that report MHC 0422 relating to the heritage alteration permit for 321 Talbot Street be received for information, and further that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends the issuance of a heritage alteration permit for the property at 321 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0822. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Wookey.
Questions or comments? Councillor Peters.
Just a comment in support of this, and just a bit of a shout out to Ginny Trempenny at the Grace Cafe and this extension of the good work that Ginny and her team of volunteers has been doing at the Grace Cafe, and trying to take their community service a step further in dealing with some of the addiction related issues. I know Ginny's husband is very much a driving force behind this, but they've created a wonderful team down at Grace Cafe, and this is a wonderful extension of their work.
Thank you for pointing them both out, Councillor Peters. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried.
Next item relates to heritage alteration permit for 367 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report MHC 0522 relating to the heritage alteration permit for 367 Talbot Street be received for information, and further that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends the issuance of a heritage alteration permit for the property at 367 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0222. Moved by Councillor Burgess, seconded by Councillor Rymal.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to a heritage alteration permit for 361 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report MHC 0622 relating to the heritage alteration permit for 361 Talbot Street be received for information, and further that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends the issuance of a heritage alteration permit for the property at 361 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0322. Moved by Councillor Rymal, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next item relates to a heritage alteration permit for 613 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report MHC 0722 relating to the heritage alteration permit for 613 Talbot Street be received for information, and further that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends the issuance of a heritage alteration permit for the property at 613 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0422. Moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wookie.
Thank you very much. As your representative on the Public Art Committee, I just want to let my colleagues know that we are meeting virtually later this week to discuss the two that are going to be on city property, 613 and 10 Princess. Just to let everybody know that, like, I can't speak for my colleagues on those committees, so I won't, but just to say that we are going to meet shortly to discuss these. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Councillor Wookie. And I was going to share with the public, we seem to be going through a number of heritage applications. These are all for new murals in our downtown. And so we are sharing what work has been done by the Heritage Committee. And as you say, the Public Art Committee will then go about what the subject matter is and color schemes and such. So council tonight is approving 6 new murals for the downtown. So don't get lost in how fast we're going on this. It's going well. Next.
Your worship, I believe we just need the vote.
See how fast I can go? All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to a heritage alteration permit for the property at 755 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report MHC 0822 relating to heritage alteration permit for 755 Talbot Street be received for information, and further that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends the issuance of a heritage alteration permit for the property at 755 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0522. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor Brimel.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Next item relates to heritage alteration permit for the property at 10 Princess. I have a motion that report MHC 0922 relating to the heritage alteration permit for 10 Princess Avenue be received for information, and further that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends the issuance of a heritage alteration permit for the property at 10 Princess Avenue relating to application HAP 0622. Moved by Councillor Burgess, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Last report this evening relates to heritage alteration permit for the property at 614 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report MHC 1022 relating to the heritage alteration permit for the property at 614 Talbot Street be received for information, and further that the Municipal Heritage Committee recommends the issuance of a heritage alteration permit for the property at 614 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0722. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Kohler.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Your worship, next order of business is petitions and communications. There are no petitions or communications on the agenda at this time.
Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. A quick update on the event that we had at the Elmer Legion hosted by Catfish Creek Conservation Authority. Excuse me, on Thursday, May the 12th. It was an event that was introduced by Jerry Richer and was presented by Elizabeth George Anton. She is the Indigenous Community Liaison for the City of London. So that event took place and it was very well attended, and it was an afternoon where there was much that was learned by the people that were in attendance that day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other items under unfinished business or petitions and communications? Seeing none?
Your worship, so whether we have any further items under unfinished or new business for council?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, we'll now move into bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws, moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Clark, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on the 16th day of May, 2022.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? That carries. Next bylaw, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and Dr. Ikafia. This relates to health recruitment partnership funding in the amount of $33,000.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? That carries. Next bylaw, please.
Third bylaw is a bylaw to appoint a building inspector, bylaw officer, and noise control officer, being Preston Carr.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? That carries. Next bylaw, please.
Fourth bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city and Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. This relates to the Canada-Ontario Community Housing Initiative and the Ontario Priorities Housing Initiative relating to the Ontario Transfer Payment Amending Agreement.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? That carries. Next bylaw, please.
Fifth bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 45-89, being a bylaw to revise and consolidate certain bylaws regulating traffic and the parking of motor vehicles. This bylaw relates to one-way traffic on Moore Street and McIntyre Street.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries.
Sixth bylaw is a bylaw to temporarily remove certain lands from part lot control relating to lots 10, 11, 13, 14, 16, and 18 on Plan 11M 257 relating to Harvest Run Phase 3, Stage 1.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? That carries. Next bylaw, please.
Seventh bylaw is a bylaw to adopt official plan amendment 101 to the City of St. Thomas official plan. This relates to a 23-unit apartment building at 4 West Pearl Street.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? That carries. Next bylaw, please.
The eighth and final bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 50-88, being the zoning bylaw for the City of St. Thomas. This allows the proposed 23-unit apartment building at 4 West Pearl Street.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? That carries. Your worship, I rise and report the successful passing of 8 bylaws.
Your worship, I have a motion by Councillor Baldwin Sands, seconded by Councillor Clark, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the 8 bylaws be received and adopted. The same be read a third time and gross, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried.
Next, we move into public notice. First notice is notice of council's intention to adopt bylaws to establish 2022 property tax rates at its meeting to be held on Monday, June the 13th, 2022 at 5 p.m. This council meeting will be available to the public on Zoom and can be accessed through a link located on the city's website. The second notice relates to the fact that administration intends to introduce a report at the May 6th. Sorry, that one we've already done. That was relating to a report that has already gone on this evening's agenda. No notices of motion this evening, Your Worship. Your Worship, is there a desire to have a short closed session portion before we move into the 6 o'clock public meeting?
Yes, we must do the public meeting at 6 o'clock, but it gives us 15 minutes to move forward if we can. Let's do some of it, please.
Okay, at this time, I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with 2 personal matters about identifiable individuals, a matter of litigation, including a matter before an administrative tribunal, and a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land. Moved by Councillor Herbert, seconded by Councillor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments? Seeing that, all those in favor? Any opposed? We're carried. We're in closed.